Around 1931, a historian and author named James Truslow Adams had used a term called American Dream. While Americans were experiencing tragic events through the Great Depression, he had written a book called The Epic of America, in which he imagined a land of better opportunities for each individual regardless of circumstances of birth and position. Immigrants from all over the world had traveled to the United States in hope of gaining freedoms such as the right to religion, owning lands, and etc. While this term is technically brand new, it can be traced back to the founding fathers who declared independence from England. To have the American dream means to possess the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
My first question to you is, what does the American dream mean to you?
Pretty much is stability and peace of mind, where a land that you can develop and you can have all those dreams that you have and your thoughts to bring it coming true, especially when you're coming from the country that there's no enough funds to for us is to finish and our education and to be successful in life.
Being able to achieve your goals as best as possible, given whatever circumstances you're in.
The American dream to me means to have a successful family.
I would say the American dream means having to live freely and gain some sort of a success.
Thousands of people around the planet leave their homelands and travel to other countries to flee from hunger, war, or harmful communities that seem unfit to live in. America and its citizens are no strangers to that. And yet, according to Christina Nunez of Global Citizen, immigrants and refugees are faced with many issues once arriving here. This American dream of owning extravagant homes, vehicles, clothes, and raising a healthy family seems a lot less realistic than people had given it credit for.
How did you try to fit in with your new community when coming to America?
The way that I have done is just to participate in basically communities such as churches, such as doing sports with other foreigners and participate with the language and trying to pick up pieces to try to communicate. But that was my best way to fit into the American society.
Well, firstly, I'm from Toluca, Mexico, so I didn't know how to speak English really except for a few words. This made me a target for getting bullied, whether it was in my school or my neighborhood. They saw this girl who spoke Spanish and weren't very accepting. So it was very hard to assimilate at first. It wasn't until later in my life when I became more grounded in life and could actually speak English that then I felt I fit in. However, back then, being how it was hard for most minorities to assimilate, especially into more wider neighborhoods.
According to the New York State Immigrant Action, the language barrier is the main challenge of being an immigrant.
The language barrier was only significant when I was younger. Especially for a kid, it's hard to adjust to new things, especially a language. However, I was getting in trouble in school, and so my dad decided to start speaking English at home in order to get better practice.
Is the immigrant experience different to a first generation than a second generation's experience?
Completely, yes. Between the first and the second generations, first generations languages, it's the first obstacle. It's like a boundaries that for any immigrant have is the communication skill. It's harder for immigrants like me. It was hard because you needed to be able to communicate, to understand and comprehend other people, their thoughts. But for the second generation, they do have their education done, and their language is not a barrier. It's advantage because the second generation, they have more flexibility and more ability to communicate to multiple different ethnics in this world. They can learn parents' languages and their own ground language as well too. So it's a huge advantage for second generation to be more successful than the first generation, for sure.
I was first generation, so like I mentioned before, I didn't know how to really speak English when I got here, putting me at a huge disadvantage. Also, my parents weren't even fitting into the community either. They dealt with the new racial issues and boundaries along with me. So it was constant adjustment, which I felt second generations would lack. They've already been able to get accustomed to the new territory somewhat, therefore giving them a different experience.
It's not to say that immigrants don't experience discrimination with that language barrier as well. Due to the rise of anti-Semitism, racism, and anti-immigration policies being passed, migrants end up facing prejudice from cultural differences and fear of people that appear different. In the early 21st century, many people today lost their homes, not having affordable health care, nor having the proper education that so many immigrants strive to achieve when leaving their homeland.
What was your first job here like? Was it something that you did back in your home country?
No, it was completely, totally different, except that I had the freedom of do whatever job was available for me at that time. I was very young, but I was very happy that I was able to work and be paid well to support my family.
My first job was a sewing machine operator at age 16. I worked for a small company that was in need of workers at the time. It fixed drapery, clothing, and other things fabricated like that. However, it was difficult at first. I had never seen or used a sewing machine in my life. Thankfully, a fellow Latina girl worked with me and showed me the ropes a bit. Thank God, or else I would have lost some fingers doing that job. I never did any job like that in my country. It was mostly packing crops and helping around the house.
When listening to other immigrants' experience of being in America, we start to realize that they want a specific common thing.
What would you say to non-immigrants about how we can make America feel more like a welcoming place?
That's a tough one. Learn as much as you can. Same thing I would say to immigrants. Learn as much as you can without judgment. And understand and realize that people come from all different walks of life. And everyone's experiences are different. So learn as much as you can without judgment.
I would basically do my research on different countries, learn about other cultures, learn about people from other places so that I don't assume certain things about them. The more you learn about other cultures, the easier it would be to understand how they function.
I think just having a conversation, speaking to someone who sort of comes from a different place from you, just seeing where they come from and finding a place where you can find some similarities, common similarities.
I would suggest is to have a little bit more sympathy for those that don't command the language, and try to understand their situation, even though it's not their fault for immigrants to have problems before they came to the United States. But my best suggestion is to try to engage and to understand and be and have that like sympathy for those like they can't even command the language, and that's my best suggestion. And humanity, it's very important in life, because at the end of the day, even through this pandemic, we all became one family.
Simply just to not be naive and mean, there's absolutely no need to hate or bash a person due to where they came from or what language they speak. No one in this world is better than anyone else. We're all worth the same. We're all alive and have feelings, ultimately just trying to survive. Clashing heads for no reason hinders the peace people crave so bad.
Racial equity is when society, as we know it, provides equal opportunities to individuals of all races and ethnicity, regardless of their physical traits. While it's not exactly easy, we can still strive to make this country a lot more welcoming to the growing population of immigrants.
My advice and the peace of mind that I always give to any immigrant, not only to immigrants but also second and third generations, is to be honest and to work with good ethics, and to provide and to be able to to advocate yourself and do your best, and be able also to help each other, and not to use the system to take advantage of the system and live in the country under the government manners, because at the end of the day, we're all working for the same reason, and we all are making the country to be better. But if we do if we all put our 2 cents and work in every angle, even if I'm not educated, if I find a job, just work and make your own money and pay taxes and help as much as you can, and try to give those morals and thoughts to your children, to make sure that they're all healthy and not to be outside of the system. And the system works. It's just many people don't like to use the system, trying to abuse the system to gain something after. So peace of mind is do your best. It's hard, but at the end of the day, once you're able to engage yourself, be able to work and find a job, is pay taxes like everybody else. Do not use the system just for your own convenience, because at the end of the day, we all are paying taxes for every immigrant, no matter where you're coming from. But we all have to be able to also help the system. I'm against those people that they work and they don't report anything to the government, because it hurts the economy as well. So for first, second, third, fourth generation, there are plenty jobs in this country, and if we all put our 2 cents, we can make the country better, and we can help the system to be more reliable, and we can help all those new generations to have a better education and not to suffer for too many loans, student loans, the food stamps, and that's what I would suggest to new generations, is just participate and be part of the system.
I agree. There are some points where I agreed with, but at the same time, I think that is much easier said than done, especially when not everyone was as opportunistic as you were and having some of those opportunities. But I do recommend that you should research into probably looking into the other side of things and into more minority groups and why they are staying in minority groups and poverty levels.
The minority, I would just, as a first generation immigrant to this country, there are always jobs out there. Doesn't matter if you have to go and clean offices, if you have to do laundry. If I know for a fact I have to provide to my children, I just look for a job, and I know there are plenty jobs out there. We just cannot try to get the easy money. But I understand that minority, unfortunately, it could be a mom left with 2 children and there is no job, and that's how the system should kick them, to how they support and provide to those single mom or single fathers that are left with no resources.
Learn as much as you can without any judgment, and understand that wherever you come from, it's going to be a different pace of life, a different culture, a different life altogether. I think a lot of new immigrants might get stuck on, the old ways of things or where they're from, and you have to realize that, America is a melting pot, so, everything is different here, and it might be different than where you grew up or how you grew up, but you have to take in and soak in as much as possible without, being too stuck in your ways.
Some advice I would give is to not get discouraged if you aren't successful right away. Things take time, since all good things take time. These things take time, since all good things take time. Remember to stay true to yourself and not to let new cultural ideas and norms change the way you fit in. Always remember where you came from and fight for the life you want.
Be patient with yourself. Use it as a strong point, sort of a strength, being able to sort of go in between both worlds.
One piece of advice I can offer any new immigrants are to not be afraid to do your research, to ask questions, and to take advantage of every opportunity that comes to you.